Hey everyone, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. My name is Vertigo and today we're going to be showing my top 5 support characters. I'll start by saying this video is subjective and my opinion, so if you don't agree with the list, that's alright. This isn't saying that those 5 characters are the definitive best supports, it's just what I think. Each showcase I try to keep the team comp relatively the same in order to have them all on equal ground, and aside from talent levels, I think I did a good job keeping them that way. The ranking will be based off of how well each character can fit on different teams and how well they do support things such as damage boosting, energy battery, heals, and etc. Now let's start off the video with our number 5 support, the Hydro Astrologist from Fontaine, Mona. Now number 5 was a toss-up between Mona and Sucrose, but in the end I felt Mona was a bit better. Mona's elemental skill distracts enemies and takes aggro off of you and gives a decent amount of orbs on his end explosion. And her burst gives crowd control to smaller enemies and boosts the damage done to every enemy hit. You do more damage being dealt depending on her talent level. Mine is level 6 at the moment. Now in the first clip we're using Chow to test out her damage, and as you can see he does around 26 to 29,000 on his burst. And now this is going to be with Mona being used. And then you see every enemy, all the smaller enemies hit, they're kind of just stuck there. And Chow's ultimate boosts up to around 34,000, so it's a pretty decent boost. And you saw the enemy still had that shiny thing on them, which means the damage dealt to them was still being boosted. And here I'm testing out Hu Tao with Mona, and there I use Mona to apply Vaporize because the ultimate applies to wet status, so 101,000. When we use Mona's ultimate into Hu Tao, they're gonna have the wet status, so to make it equal, I inflict them with wet before. Here we have her ultimate, and now 125,000. So as you can see, Mona provides a decent damage boost along with crowd control on smaller enemies. She can also take attention from you, and these aspects alone just barely beats out Sucrose and puts her at number 5 on the list. On to number 4, the Chief Alchemist, Albedo. Albedo is a great support who provides a lot of passive damage and energy for your team. He's the best friend of any Geo character and can secure a spot on almost any team comp. Albedo's elemental skill places a field that causes an AoE Geo attack whenever damage is dealt to an enemy every 3 seconds. Each explosion generates energy orbs and the base damage scales from Albedo's defense. The middle of the field has a lotus flower elevator that lifts you up and allows you to plunge attack or avoid damage. Albedo's ultimate blast is a wave of Geo damage with aftershocks. As you can see here, my Albedo is doing around 8 to 9,000 per explosion, and the constant energy regeneration makes sure I'm able to use my burst constantly. While Albedo works best with other Geo characters, he also works well with anyone else. The significant bursts of damage complement any character's damage, even his own. As you can see, he doesn't do much attacking damage, but even that's overlooked with the added damage of the elemental skill. His elevator can also be used to traverse some areas of the open world easier. Albedo's high support damage and high energy regeneration places him at number 4 on the list. Now at number 3, we have the Anemo Archon, Venti. Venti is a character who was considered the best support unit and pretty overpowered for a long time. He's the best unit you could want for smaller enemy crowd control, his burst sucking in everything like a black hole and absorbing the first element it comes into contact with. His elemental skill lifts enemies into the air, generating a good amount of orbs and makes enemies float down shorter, similar to Jean's charge attack. When his skill is held, it even allows you to fly up and give you gliding height. Venti also makes it easier to hit many enemies with your other character's attacks, grouping them all together for a ton of damage, and with the right team can even deal great damage over time with his burst. He fits on any team composition simply because of his utility and the amazing crowd control he has on smaller enemies. Venti can also get extremely high energy recharge, making his burst almost always available outside of its cooldown time. Venti's near oppressive crowd control, his decent energy generation, and his burst uptime lands him at a number 3 on the list. Up next, we have the Geo Archon, Zhongli. Zhongli is simply an amazing support. If you saw my showcase on him, you know the overwhelming power he brings to any team. His shield protects your team from a lot of damage, absorbing more based on Zhongli's HP. His shield also reduces enemy resistances by 20% in a small AoE, allowing all of your units to do more damage when protected by it. It can even be strong enough to tank a whale hit from Child. Zhongli's pillar gives a small bit of passive damage and is climbable, giving some traversal utility in the open world, and lets you perform plunge attacks in battle. His burst does extremely high amounts of damage, also scaling by 33% of his HP. It also has some of the best crowd control in the game, applying a petrify status and encasing enemies in stone for a short duration. Aside from bosses, it immobilizes any enemies, including Lawa Trails and Ruin Guards. Zhongli is an unmovable tank, a great burst damage dealer, and boosts the damage of your team with his shield, while protecting them from almost any attack. These attributes put Zhongli at number 2 on the list. Now onto the best support in Genshin Impact, the unlucky adventurer, Bennett. Bennett is great, to put it bluntly. He's the only 4-star on the list, but that makes him even better, making him easier to obtain and get constellations for than any of the other 5-star supports. His elemental skill isn't much more than an energy generator, having a 3-second cooldown and giving a good amount of energy. His high energy recharge stat makes sure that he can always have his burst up, with 2 or 3 uses of his skill. His burst is where the brunt of his support comes from. Bennett's burst applies a small area of pyro that heals and boosts the damage of anyone in the field. While it may not seem that crazy, his burst can boost your damage to insane heights. The attack boost is based off of Bennett's base attack, meaning that aside from his talent level and the weapon you use, most people will be able to have a very good Bennett. His burst can more than double the damage you deal, and is the key component in almost any one-shot or damage showcase you see in the game. Bennett's heal only heals up to 70%, but that's because his heal is better than almost any other healer. It ticks faster than other heals, allowing for more heals per second, with the only healer coming close being Chi-Chi. And with Bennett being able to keep his burst available almost all the time, it means you'll usually be able to heal any damage done and keep your damage buff active a lot of the time. While Bennett doesn't do much damage himself, he fits on almost any team composition, no matter who is on it. His overwhelming damage boosting, high energy recharge and generation, and his quick healing abilities makes Bennett the best support in Genshin Impact. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my list. If you don't agree, let me know what your top 5 is in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did like it, and until the next one.
Benny's Adventure Team! Sample!
Osmanthus wine tastes the same.